Have you ever felt that deep pull, you know? Like you're searching for something really important?
Oh, yeah, that feeling of being on a quest for some kind of truth, maybe.
Exactly. Maybe something that feels like it's been building, I don't know, across your whole life,
Hmm.
leading towards some big realization or meeting.
That's a really powerful human thing, that sense of seeking. It pops up in so many stories and traditions.
It really does. And today, well, we're doing a deep dive into an ancient narrative, a story from this amazing text that talks about exactly that kind of search.
Right.
We're going to unpack a section about a figure called the Venerable Maha, and it's quite a tale. Shows how actions from like lifetimes ago can create these ripples.
Yeah, ripples that shape future lives and lead to these, well, pretty incredible outcomes.
And how this really profound faith, built up over ages, can actually culminate in this life-changing encounter.
It's amazing. It really connects that past merit, those good deeds, with seizing the opportunity right here, right now, overcoming huge obstacles too.
Okay, so you've shared the sources, we've both looked at the text, let's just jump right into this journey. And it starts, well, not just years ago, but like eons ago, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah. The narrative takes us way, way back to the time of a previous Gouda, actually, named Padumuttara.
Padumuttara Buddha. Okay, so who's our main character back then in that life?
Well, in that particular lifetime, the person who would eventually become Mahakapina was the chief weaver in a village somewhere near Varanasi.
Chief Weaver, got it. So what happens? What brings him and his community into this big story?
So there's this significant event, 1,000 Pachakabuddhas.
Okay, remind us what Pajaka Buddhas are again.
Right, they're like solitary enlightened ones. They figured out themselves, reach enlightenment, but don't really teach in the same way as Sammasamma Buddha does. Anyway, these 1,000 Pachakabuddhas finished their rains retreat up in the Himalayas.
Okay.
And they came down towards the populated areas near Varanasi.
1,000 enlightened beings arriving. How did the local bigwigs react?
The king, maybe. Yeah, well, the king of Varanasi at the time, unfortunately, kind of missed the boat. The text says he actually turned them away.
Turned them away. Wow.
He was busy. Apparently, he was caught up in this royal plowing festival, the Vapa Mangala.
Ah, too busy with worldly stuff to notice 1,000 enlightened beings. Classic.
Exactly. A real missed opportunity. But this is where the chief weaver's wife steps in.
Okay, so she encounters them.
Precisely.
Yeah.
She's on her way to Varanasi, and she runs into this group of 1,000 Pachakabuddhas.
And her reaction is different from the king's, I take it.
Totally different. Instantly, she's filled with faith, even though they tell her there are 1,000 of them.
Which is a lot to host.
A huge number. But she doesn't hesitate. Right there, she invites every single one of them for the next day's meal.
Wow. Just like that. An invitation for 1,000. How did the rest of the village take that?
Well, this is where the community spirit really shines. At the wife's urging, the text says, the whole village just pulls together. They organize sitting places for everyone. They prepare all this food. The text mentions specific things like guhada and salapada, which sound like pretty substantial meals.
So food and seating. What else? Did they help with lodging?
They did more than that. They built 1,000 individual leaf huts called pansasala, like temporary shelters for them.
Each villager built one hut.
Seems like it, yeah. A real collective effort. And the text makes a point of saying they attended to the Pachakabuddhas really respectfully, sakakeo pathisu is the phrase, conscientiously, properly.
That's incredible community action. But the wife's personal offering, it went even further, didn't it?
It really did. So at the end of that rains retreat period, she gets the villagers involved again, this time preparing robe cloths.
Okay.
And then she personally gives a robe to each of the 1,000 Pachakabuddhas. And these weren't just any robes.
No.
Each one was apparently worth 1,000 treasure units. Sahasa Mulikivara.
1,000 treasure units per robe. For 1,000 people, that sounds like a lot.
It's immense.
Yeah.
We can't put an exact dollar figure on it, obviously. But yeah, think millions, maybe tens of millions in today's terms. A truly staggering gift, showing incredible generosity and faith.
Wow. Okay. So she makes this unbelievable offering. And then, right at that moment, she makes a specific wish, doesn't she? A patana.
Yes, and this is crucial for the rest of the story. As she's offering the cloth, she makes this solemn aspiration that in every single future life, her body would have the color of anoja flowers.
Huh?
Apparently a beautiful, radiant kind of flower. So that color, and that her name would always be Anoja.
And this wish,
The Pasaka Buddhas approved it.
Hmm.
They basically confirmed that her merit was sufficient for this outcome.
So that massive act of merit plus that very focused, faith-filled wish kind of sets the course for her and the whole community, actually, for lifetimes to come. What happened right after that life?
Well, the immediate result, the text says, is that after they passed away, Kuta, having made all this merit, this punya,
Yeah.
the villagers were all reborn together, up in the Tava teams of heaven. As these beings called Gatavaputa, basically group deities, they experienced all this divine happiness and prosperity together.
Okay, so they enjoyed the reward together in heaven. What about after that? Did the connection continue?
It did. Their journey as a group kept going. During the time of the next Buddha, Kassapa Buddha, they passed away from heaven and were reborn back here in the human world, specifically back in Varanasi.
And who were they this time?
The chief weaver from the Padumatara time. He was reborn as the son of a really prominent chief householder. And his wife,
The one who made the wish.
yeah, Anoja, she was reborn as the daughter of the same chief householder.
Oh, wow. So like siblings or closely related?
Yeah, in the same influential family. And the other villagers from that past life, they were reborn into the families of ministers. So again, high status, all interconnected.
They really stuck together, didn't they? Still prosperous.
Absolutely. The text emphasizes that they married within these related families and just continued to enjoy prosperity together. Eko Hutva, it says. Just like they'd done the good deeds together, they experienced the results together. It's a really clear picture of karmic momentum, you know.
Definitely. Okay, so this brings us to their final life in this story, the one involving our Buddha, Gautama Buddha. Where do they show up now?
Right. Imasmi Buddha Pede, in this Buddha era. They pass away from that Deva world life.
Man.
The chief householder's son from Kassapa's time, the original weaver, he's reborn into royalty this time. In a city called Kukutavadi, he becomes King Maha.
King Maha.
Okay.
And his wife, the one with the wish.
She's also reborn into royalty, but in Sagala city, in the Maha country. And she becomes Queen Anoja.
Anoja, so the wish came true.
Exactly. The text specifically notes her body had the color of Anoja flowers, just like she'd wished all those lifetimes ago, and her name was Anoja. And the other villagers.
Ministers.
Yep. Reborn into minister families again, and they become King Maha 1,000 ministers. And again, the text says they all enjoyed prosperity pretty much equal to the kings of Rinyan Sampati and Bavisu.
That thread connecting them all, rooted in that ancient act of merit. It's incredible how it persisted. Okay, let's focus on King Maha now, in this life. What was his daily routine like? Did any of that past seeking come through?
Oh, absolutely. Despite being this incredibly wealthy and powerful king, that underlying aspiration was clearly still driving him. The text describes this specific routine he had, totally focused on searching.
What did he do?
He had these 5 special horses. One, named Supada, he rode himself. The other 4, he gave them to riders specifically to bring him messages, Sasanaharakataya.
Messages about?
Every single morning, after making sure the horses and riders were fed and ready, he'd send them out. Through the 4 main city gates.
With specific instructions?
Yeah, very specific. Go out 2 or 3 Johannes.
Which is what, maybe 10, 20 miles or so?
Something like that, yeah. A decent distance out.
Right.
And their job was to find out if a Buddha, the Dhamma, or the Sangha had arisen in the world Upanavavayatva. And if they heard anything, bring back a pleasant message, a Sukhasasana.
And did they ever find anything?
Nope. Day after day, they'd ride out, find no news, and ride back empty-handed.
So this king, surrounded by luxury, his main daily activity was this active search for the 3 jewels.
Wow. How did he finally hear the news?
Well, one day the king is riding Supada out into the royal park and his 1,000 ministers are with him.
Okay.
And he sees this group coming into the city, 500 merchants. And the text describes them as looking really weary, Atanakilanta, like they'd been on a long journey.
And the king gets a feeling about them.
He does. He has this intuition. He thinks, these guys look exhausted from traveling. Maybe I'll finally hear some good news, Padak Sasana, from them.
So what did he do?
He called them over, asked them where they were from.
Yeah.
They said Savatthi, which the text notes was about 120 yojanas away. 120 yojanas, that's huge.
Yeah.
Like 600, maybe close to 1,000 miles.
A really significant distance, yeah. So then the king asks them the question, the same one he sent his messengers out for every morning.
Has any message arisen in your country?
Exactly. And he says, and the merchants. Well, their answer changes everything. They say, Deva, addressing him as your majesty, there's nothing else really important, but the fully enlightened Buddha, the Sama Sambuddho, has arisen.
Wow. There it is. After all that searching, what was the king's immediate reaction, hearing those words?
It hit him like lightning. The text says his entire body was just flooded Cicero with the 5 kinds of rapture, Panikavanaya Pitya.
Like physical bliss.
Intense physical and mental bliss, yeah.
Yeah.
So intense, apparently, that he couldn't even, process it for a second. Kinchi salakatua sakonto muhuta vitina metva. He just had to pause.
Overwhelmed.
You
So
know,
after that moment passed.
he kind of collects himself
Yeah.
and just has to ask again, maybe not quite believing it. My children, what are you saying? And they repeat it. Deva, the Buddha, has arisen.
And then what does he do?
His response shows just how much this news meant to him. He immediately says, my children, for telling me this, I give you 100,000 treasure units.
100,000 just for the news about the Buddha? Was that it? Did they have more?
Oh, yeah. He asked them, is there any other message?
And they say,
Deva, yes. The Dhamma has arisen.
the teaching itself. And his reaction.
Same thing. That momentary pause, overwhelmed again, asks them to repeat it. When they do, he says, okay, for that too, here's another 100,000.
Another 100,000 for the Dhamma. He must be running out of treasure. What about the third jewel?
He asks one more time, any other message? And they say, Deva, yes. The jewel of the Sangha, the Sankharatana, has arisen.
The community of practitioners.
Right. And again, the pause, the confirmation, and then here too, I give you 100,000. So in total, he gives these merchants 300,000 treasure units.
300,000. That's just staggering. It really shows the value he placed on this after searching for so long. Okay, so he's heard the news. He's rewarded the messengers. What's his very next move?
This is where you see the power of that underlying aspiration,
Yeah.
maybe fueled by all those past lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's immediate. He turns to his 1,000 ministers
Yeah.
and he asks them, so what are you guys going to do?
And they ask him back.
They do. Well, Deva, what are you going to do?
That's his answer.
No hesitation at all. He declares, my children, I've heard it. The Buddha has arisen. The Dhamma has arisen. The Sangha has arisen. I'm not turning back. I'm going. Going to seek the teacher, Tatara Odisa Gafa, and I'm going to ordain in his presence.
Wow. Just like that. Drops everything, the kingdom, the power, the wealth, based purely on hearing those words. What about his ministers? The ones who shared his journey and prosperity?
Their connection held strong. That shared past, that shared merit, it comes through right here. They reply instantly with the same conviction. Deva, we're coming with you. We'll ordain with you too. Mayampi Deva, tumhehi sadipa bujisama.
A king and 1,000 ministers, all deciding on the spot to renounce everything and become monastics. That's unbelievable. How did he handle the practical side? Like telling the Queen Anoja.
He acted fast, but also seemed concerned about her. He had letters inscribed on a golden plate. Sovanchapaya akarani likapetva.
A golden plate. That definitely sends a message about the seriousness of it. What did it say?
He told the merchants to deliver this message. Tell Queen Anoja that he's given her complete sovereignty Isari Visita. She's in charge now. She should just enjoy the royal wealth and prosperity however she wants. Yata sukha sampati bunjahi.
Okay, so he hands over the kingdom. And what about his own departure?
He told them, if she asks where I am, tell her exactly this. He said, I will ordain having sought the teacher, and he's gone. Sataro disapavichisamiti fatavakato. Very direct.
Clear message. No ambiguity there. Did the ministers do something similar?
Yeah, they sent similar messages to their wives. And then the text emphasizes they just left immediately. Takanya veva nikami. Dismissed the merchants and walked out, the king and his 1,000 ministers. No packing, no goodbyes, just gone.
Wow. Setting off on foot, leaving it all behind. So while they're starting this journey, what's happening with the Buddha? Does he know they're coming?
Yeah, this is where the story gives us the Buddha's perspective, which is fascinating. It says that very same day, the Buddha is doing his usual thing at dawn, surveying the world with his divine eye.
And he sees them.
He sees King Maha and his whole retinue. He knows the king heard the news, gave up his kingdom, and is heading towards him to ordain.
Does he know what will happen to them spiritually?
He does. He foresees that the king and all his ministers have the potential to reach arahantship, the highest stage of enlightenment, and they'll gain these special analytical knowledges. So knowing they're coming and knowing their potential, what does the Buddha decide to do? Just wait for them in Savatthi.
No, and this is really extraordinary. It shows such incredible compassion. He thinks, I should go meet him. Bakugamanam asakarasami. He decides to go out and greet them.
He's going to meet them halfway.
Not even halfway. The text says the very next day, the Buddha takes his bowl and robe and travels 120 yojanas.
The full distance, the same distance the merchants came from.
The entire way. He goes all the way to them.
That completely flips the script, doesn't it? Usually the seeker goes to the teacher.
Exactly. It's a powerful statement. The text uses this great comparison. It says, he went out like a universal monarch, a kakavati, going out of his way to greet some minor village chief. Kutikagamopojakap pakugachanto.
Wow.
And he goes and sits down under a big banyan tree right on the bank of the Chandabaga River and starts emitting these brilliant six-colored rays, just waiting for them.
What an image.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Buddha is waiting. Meanwhile, the king and his ministers are trekking these hundreds of miles. Did they face any problems on the way?
Oh yeah, big problems. As they journeyed, they started encountering rivers, major rivers,
The first one was called.
Aravapacha. When they got there, they asked about it. Apparently, it was 1 gavuta deep and 2 gavutas wide.
How big is a gavuta?
It's about a quarter of a yojana, so maybe, what, a mile or 2 deep and maybe 2 to 4 miles wide. A substantial river. And the problem was...
The boats.
No boats, no rafts, nothing. Nauva, Wumpova, none were there.
Okay, so they're faced with this huge river, no way across. What does the king do? Panic.
No, this is where that deep faith and the reason for their journey comes right to the front. The king thinks, look, if we stand around looking for boats, we'll just get older and die. Birth leads to old age leads to death. I came out here having thrown away all doubt, Nibamatigohutfa, searching for the 3 jewels. By the power of that search, of that faith, may this water just not be an obstacle. Ida Urovya Mahositi.
A powerful intention. So how did they actually cross?
Anchored in that thought, the king then deliberately brought to mind the qualities of the Buddha, Buddhanusati. Maybe mentally reciting, Iti piso bhagavatahas samasambuddho. He is the blessed one, the worthy one, the fully enlightened one.
Right.
And fueled by that recollection, that faith, incredibly. The king, his 1,000 ministers, and all their horses, they just stepped out onto the water's surface.
Stepped onto the water, like walking on water?
Essentially, yes. The text says it was a miracle born from their collective faith and the power of remembering the Buddha. It even says the horses' hooves didn't get wet.
Not even their hooves got wet.
Nope. It was as if they'd stepped onto solid rock.
That is absolutely amazing. Their faith literally carried them across. Were there more rivers?
Yep. They crossed the first one, kept going, and ran into another. The Nilavahana River.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Smaller.
Bigger. This one was half a yojana deep and half a yojana wide. So maybe 2 to 4 miles deep and wide. Another huge obstacle.
Okay, how did they tackle this one? Same method.
Similar, but this time the king focused his reflection on the Dhamma, Dhammanusati. Thinking about the qualities of the teaching, Svakato Bhagavata Dhammo, well proclaimed is the Blessed One's Dhamma.
Yes.
And just like before, powered by that reflection on the truth, he led them across the surface of the water.
Incredible. So reflection on the Buddha across the first, reflection on the Dhamma across the second. Was there a third?
There was. The third and final one was the Chandapaga River.
Ah, the river where the Buddha was waiting. How big was this one?
The biggest yet. 1 full yojana deep and 1 yojana wide. Maybe 5 to 8 miles across and just as deep. A massive body of water.
The final challenge. Right before they meet the Buddha. How did they manage this?
You can probably guess. Seeing this huge river, the king completed the trilogy. He focused his mind on the qualities of the Sangha, Sangosati, Supaipano Bhagavato Savaka Sango. Well practiced is the Blessed One's community of disciples.
And reflecting on the Sangha.
Got them across the third river, same way as before. Just stepped onto the surface and walked across.
So reflecting on the 3 jewels Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha literally allowed them to overcome these impossible physical barriers. What happened right after they crossed that last river, the Chandabaga?
As soon as they were across, the king looked up and saw the brilliant 6-colored light, the Chaban Charasmio, radiating from the Buddha's body.
The light the Buddha was emitting from the banyan tree.
Exactly. And the text adds this lovely detail. The light was so bright that the branches, the forks, the leaves of the banyan tree itself looked like they were made of pure gold. So Tamayani Vyasu.
Wow. What did the king think when he saw this unearthly light?
He knew immediately what it was. He thought, okay, this radiance, this isn't the moon, it's not the sun, it's not some god or spirit. No Diva, Mara, Brahma, Naga, Supen. This has to be it. Having come all this way seeking the teacher, I must have finally been seen by the great Gautama Buddha. Ada Satteru Udisa Agachanto Magotomo Buddhina Tito Bhavisami.
He recognized it instantly. So the meeting itself, how did it happen?
The moment he realized, he just immediately Tavadeva got off his horse. His body bowed low in respect, Anatasariro. He just followed the light, walked towards the Buddha.
Okay.
And the text uses this really vivid image to describe entering the aura of the Buddha's presence. It says it was like plunging into liquid cinnabar, this vibrant red mineral pigment. Monosolaris mujanto via buddhasmina antopavisitva.
Like being immersed in pure radiance.
Exactly. He reached the Buddha, bowed down low, and then sat respectfully off to one side, ekamanti nisiti. And his 1,000 ministers did the same.
So there they are. After this epic journey, the past merit setting the stage, the intense seeking, the instant renunciation, the miraculous river crossings, and the Buddha actually coming all that way to meet them, they're finally sitting before the teacher. What happens next?
Well, the Buddha, having come all that way specifically for them, then taught them the Dhamma, specifically the Anupubbakatha, the gradual discourse.
What does that involve?
It's a progressive teaching. Starts with basics like generosity, dana, morality, sila, the rewards of heavenly rebirth, then moves on to the drawbacks of sensual pleasures, the problems inherent in worldly existence, and culminates in the benefits of renunciation and the path to liberation. It meets people where they are and gently leads them forward.
Okay, so the Buddha gives them this tailored teaching. What was the result, the culmination of this whole incredible saga?
At the very end of the discourse, Dizanavasan the king, along with his entire retinue, all 1,000 ministers, they were established in the fruit of stream entry. So the Padafali Patuhahi.
Stream entry. Just remind us quickly what that signifies.
It's the first major stage of enlightenment in Buddhism. It means you've broken through certain fundamental misunderstandings, certain fetters, and you've irreversibly entered the stream that leads directly to Nibbana, to final liberation.
So you're guaranteed to reach full enlightenment eventually.
Within a maximum of 7 more lifetimes, yeah. You won't fall back into lower states. It's a massive, irreversible breakthrough, a fundamental shift in perspective.
So their incredible journey didn't just end with meeting the Buddha. It ended with them taking that first definitive step onto the path of liberation. For all of them.
For all 1,001 of them, yes. King and ministers together is really quite a story.
It truly is. Just an amazing narrative connecting these threads, the power of past good deeds, that unwavering faith developing over lifetimes, the courage to act on that faith instantly, and then these miraculous events unfolding.
Absolutely. The story of Maha Kappina and his ministers, it just powerfully shows how that deep-seated aspiration, backed by real commitment and past merit, can literally pave the way.
Yeah.
It allows you to find the truth you're seeking and overcome things that seem completely impossible, like those rivers.
Yeah.
The strength of their wish to find the Buddha, built up over so long, just met the Buddha's incredible compassion, his willingness to come meet them. And the result was that transformative breakthrough reaching stream entry.
It really leaves you thinking, doesn't it? It makes you consider, your own deepest hopes or intentions, those things you feel you've been searching for, maybe across different journeys or phases in your own life. This story kind of invites you to wonder, how might your own dedication, maybe fueled by positive things you've done, allow those hopes to actually happen, perhaps in ways you don't expect? And maybe what obstacles that seem totally impassable right now might just dissolve or become crossable when you approach them with that kind of clear, unwavering purpose, that deep intention.